Hey everyone, Dan here. I'm doing a wipe and a reset on my Synology RT2600AC router to troubleshoot some other problem completely unrelated to that, and I figured I'd make a quick video and show you all how it works. So without further ado, welcome to Acid Sec Tips, and let's get to it. Now, as far as I know, we shouldn't have any internet access. I'm bouncing off my hotspot. Yeah, so I need to disconnect my adapter. Here we are, disable, cool, and now we should be alive. Synology. And here is the product in question. So this is the device that I'm working on, comes highly recommended. You can take a look at the spec yourself. I will put the link in the description below, but it's got some nice basic specs, some nice features. It does everything that you would expect a router would do, but a good few things more. I purchased this for IPS Intrusion Prevention system. It's got a built-in IPS, which is extremely rare to see on a residential device that comes with a single cost. So essentially, you hand over money once to a store, you receive the product, and you get the operating system and all of the packages for the life of the product for free. So that's the first huge plus. Second thing is it supports IPS, which normally you only see on SME and enterprise grade firewalls, and those generally speaking come at an extremely expensive cost, along with a subscription to a license to be able to use the hardware. You don't have anything like that on this one. And the major pro, which basically sits this above even some enterprise devices, is the fact that when you do have IPS, your connection isn't downgraded. It supports an IPS of 1 Gbps throughput. Now, for all of you who are not tech heads like me, IPS, intrusion prevention, when somebody's trying to hack you, this here will intelligently pick up on it and automatically start doing blocks. It's like Border Patrol. It watches all of the traffic that's coming in and out of your network, and if anything's out of order, it stops it. The problem is when you have a person doing that, of course your flow of traffic is going to slow down, and that's the case with many enterprise routers. So for example, if you were to have, let's say, a Meraki MX100, very cool firewall, with a symmetrical 1 gigabit line, you connect that 1 gigabit line into the firewall, you configure it, and your 1 gigabit line is then downgraded to 700 megabits because of the IDS and IPS. This here does 1 gigabits per second. You're not going to see it on the website. How do I know? I called them up, I wrote them, they told me directly. Moving on. Yeah, cool. So I want to now show you the manual so that you can see exactly how I've got it hooked up. I have a modem with a wire coming out of it and going into port 6, indicated here, which is the WAN port. Then I have a cable going from LAN port 1 into my computer, which has many network ports, wireless and wired. So that is my configurational setup at this particular moment in time. I've just done a wipe and a reset. It's finished booting up. FYI, when you do the boot up for the first time or you do a wipe and a reset, the status light is going to remain orange for a little while. Be patient. Eventually it'll boot up and all of the other lights will turn green, and then you'll be at the point where we are right now. So moving forward, let us turn our Wi-Fi off. Let us re-enable our Ethernet port, the cable. If you are unfamiliar what the default IP address is, you can download a tool. It'll do a search and it'll find it for you. Not every router will have that opportunity, and there are better ways to do this. The next thing to do here is to check your connection. So for example here, when you plug a cable in, you will get this little guy pop up here, and if you go into details and look for the gateway, you'll see 192.168.1.1. Alternatively, you can go to command if you're feeling a little bit more hackerish like, and get some command line going on, and you can type in ipconfig/all and look for Ethernet connection, Marvel, this is us here, and there you go. This is the IP address of my machine, and here is our default gateway. Once you have your default gateway, and 90% of the time it's going to be 192.168, and it'll either be 0.1 or 1.1, depending on where in the network your device is coming in. Once you know what the IP address is, copy it, open up the browser of your choice, open up the browser of your choice in incognito mode, so that there are no add-ons that could potentially be interfering with the functionality. And you should be looking at your start page. So, this is what you are all going to see. Click Start. Create an account. First account should be the admin account. Agree. On that note, you should never really use the admin account. It's a fallback account. Once all is said and done, you create another user or a few others, and they are the users that you primarily use as an admin. And then should you need to SSH, telnet, whatever, make some more advanced configurations, forgot your password, need to reset, that is what the admin account is for. Give your network a name. Give it a password. Three uppercase, 3 lowercase, 3 numbers, 3 symbols. Don't be stupid. Make a good password. Incorrect value. Yeah, okay. Modem, router, me. We'll switch this on later. I have an auto IP. You have a couple of different options for setting up. If you've got PPPoE, look at the piece of paper that came from your internet service provider and enter in the username and the password. If you've got a static IP, enter in the static IP information on your subnet and your DNS and your gateway, and you'll be fine. If you've got an auto IP like me, a DHCP external IP configuration, hit auto IP, job done. I've got no idea what DSLite is. This normally doesn't take 3 minutes, it's a little bit quicker. Can be a bit longer if your if your RSM, your router, your Synology router, SRM. If your Synology router manager firmware is out of date, if your SRM is out of date, you may need to download a package and install it, and hence then the 3 minutes could be accurate. They usually come with a fairly update firmware installed already, and therefore this process is generally speaking a little bit quicker. But to save you all the hassle, I'm now going to pause. Okay, so that was a lot quicker than I expected. Add Wi-Fi points. Should you happen to have a large house with multiple floors and thick walls and you need to expand your network, you can buy MR devices like this RT. You can buy satellites, and the satellites will, via a mesh, connect to this to expand your network via a cable or a proprietary signal. You can set them up here or you can set them up afterwards. I don't have any, I don't need them, therefore I'm just going to skip it and go straight to managing now. Good. Yes. All good. That's exactly what I was talking about earlier on, the threat prevention. Cool. Another really cool thing. It comes with an Epic app. So if you've got guests over, you whip open the app, you basically click on guest network QR code and you tell them to scan the QR code and they're connected and isolated from your network. With a lot of other features as well, but it's visually quite nice and handy and keeps things simple. In a nutshell, this thing here screams simplicity. There are a lot of modems, routers, firewalls, blah, 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 blah out there which tend to be quite complicated. And if you are not an IT wizard like me, then you may find it a little bit difficult. And therefore, I absolutely recommend this device to you because the amount of help, support, excellent customer support, ease of use, documentation, you cannot go wrong with this setup. No, I do not want to share analytics. If you don't have a Synology account, you should create one. They're awesome. And then once done, click here to make sure your device is constantly up to date. So we want to make sure, use updates only, check, So that's fine. I want to do it on a schedule, and I want the schedule to be on Saturday at 3. Why Saturday? Because if something goes wrong, you've got Sunday to fix it. Why not during the week? Because if something goes wrong, you don't want to be during the week trying to fix stuff when you should be working. Why 3 a.m.? Because you'll be sleeping. Good. And I'm up to date. Happy days. So let us close, and welcome to the UI. In a nutshell, it's the best firmware GUI I've ever used for a router. You have here your start menu, here your quick messages, your account, which we need to change, your search bar. So for example, user. That's how easy it is. And let's create a new user. Groovy, apply. And I should be working at an admin level. Groovy, good. Close. Sign out. Oops, a daisy. Good. We've seen it all before. Okay. Job done. Don't show me again. Excellent. And I am going to go through this in the order that you see from the icons on my desktop. Network, Wi-Fi, safe access, control panel, package center, and SRM help. So, and then of course, we want to have a quick look at the control panels out there. Yes, it is, yeah. So sweet network rules. I shall drop this puppy out here also. Security advisor. Nice. We don't need 2 of them. Okay, good. Jumping into it. Network center. The overview of your network. Status. What's going on? It should be pretty much self-explanatory. Here's your internet. Here's the devices on your... Oh, hello. Ooh, a lot of devices. Okay. Switch. But anyway, here are the devices on the network. What my CPU is using. Is it threading? Is it easy? Is it brushing the traffic off? Same thing with the memory. Nice. Internet connection. We have here connection, WAN, quick. Okay. So as you can see, we've already gone through this. I've had my connection set up as auto. Here's where you change your connection type. If you've got more specific ISP settings, you can set them up here. I will be enabling a secondary interface because I have a failover connection. And if you do have your own manually configured DNS server, you can bounce to that or even enter in your own one. For example, Google. But I'm just going to leave it as basic as I can for the moment for a specific reason that I'm doing testing and I need to try and keep this as stock as possible before I go into more advanced configurations. Once my testing is done, then I'll go crazy. But you've got the idea here. VPN settings, to be honest with you, I'd leave the VPN settings for the moment because there's a really funky VPN server. However, if you're like me and you live in a country where the national language is not English and you like to watch Netflix in English, this is where you go in and you stick your VPN settings. Whatever your custom VPN settings, which you make, it's a little bit complicated. But you can set them in here, and then all of the traffic that goes out from your LAN onto the network will automatically go into a tunnel and come out in whatever VPN country you've set up in. Smart WAN. So, self-explanatory, failover or load balancing. Load balancing for traffic, or failover, if one line dies, the other one takes over. I have a device like a phone, standalone battery. It's got a power cable, takes a SIM card, connects to our 5G mast outside. So if my line goes down, the cellular network just fails over and connects directly to the cellular network, and it's done so on LAN port 1. It's not connected at the moment because while I'm doing this, the wife is using it to do her work, but that's where I would connect it. If you don't have one of those, and I'm assuming you probably don't, you can always just run out to the shop and pick up a USB dongle with the SIM card on the inside, jack it into the back, and set it up here so that it does exactly the same thing. Line goes down, jumps over to your LTE failover. The only thing about the USB dongle that I'm not thrilled about is if you have a few rooms surrounding where your modem is or where your router is, the signal to the mobile network might not be so great. If you've only got a USB dongle, then you might want to get one that's got like an antenna connection to it so that you can actually plug an antenna wire, run that wire to the outside of your building and actually connect it to an LTE antenna so that you're getting the best possible signal you can. Otherwise, do it my way. Quick Connect and DDNS. DDNS, Dynamic Domain Name Resolution Services. Changing names into IPs. You should know this, Google it. Dynamic means you are on a dynamic DHCP external IP. So you're not getting the IP statically to your modem, it changes. I'm not really going to try and explain that, but essentially it's like if you need to hand out 10 things to 20 people who don't need them all the time, let's say Nintendo Switches, and you've got 20 gamers who like to play on the Nintendo Switch, but at any given time, 10 of them are sleeping and the other 10 of them are gaming. So you hand out your 10 devices. One of them goes to sleep, gives the Switch back to you, you now have one in your pocket. One of the dudes who was sleeping wakes up and says, hey, I want to do some gaming. You give the Nintendo Switch to this dude and the games. That's what the DHCP is all about. Except instead of switches, they're IP addresses. Instead of people, they're devices. If that makes sense. Google it. Yeah, and basically when you add it and you set it up, it just basically does a little heartbeat ping to constantly keep your external IP up to date, so that you can always tap into your network should the need be. However, I'd recommend not doing that because you've got the ability to use Quick Connect, which is essentially the same thing but significantly easier to set up. Like I said earlier on, if you don't have a Synology account, go make one. So basically what we want to do is we want to go to Enable. Refresh. Check. Beautiful. As easy as pie. Okay, moving on. So, if you have anything that you need to port forward, Xbox, PlayStation, whatever, this is where it's done. I'm not going to explain it. If you need to know how to port forward specific ports for specific services or applications to specifically your Synology, these two links here, list of routers and list of programs, are exactly what you need to do. Link in the description below. For routers, you simply go to Routers, Synology, close the ad, your model, and follow these step-by-step instructions with pictures. If you need to know specifically what ports for a service, you go to Programs, and you just Fortnite, find 40, there you go, and you've got all of the ports that you need for all of the different services. You copy them, and you follow the first one that you looked at a second ago, job done. Port triggering, not going to explain that. DMZ, demilitarized zone, safe area, also not going to explain it. I don't need them, not at the moment. Local network. I will change my settings in the future. However, for you guys, just leave everything as is unless there is a need to change it. This here, keep it the same. Don't mess with the subnet mask if you don't know what subnet masks are. Leave your DHCP server enabled. I am going to change this because I like things to be a little bit more organized to 100 IPs within the range of, whoops, a daisy, 192.168.1.200. Yeah, within the range of 100 to 200. So the switch thing that I was telling you about earlier on, we've got 100 devices, and we are going to hand those 100 devices out to whomever needs them. Whenever they get their IP address, it will be either 101, 102, 103, it'll be within that range, because my network level devices are going to get from 1 to 10, my servers are going to get from 10 to 20, extracurricular devices such as printing, scanning and stuff like that will get from 20 to 30, 30 to 50 will remain unreserved. I'm not going to use 50 to 100, and I'm going to leave the last 4 IPs from 2 to 254 as VIP private emergency ones. Backup. Google. It's Google's DNS server. One of them anyway. You can also bounce off Cloudflare, which we are not going to do, but very awesome. Actually, let's just make a quick test. It's as easy as that. But we don't want that, so let's turn that off. Cool. Gateway, DNS, yeah. Domain name. I don't really need it at the moment. Okay, cool. Apply, job done. IPv6. If you don't know what it is, Google it. You don't need it. IPv4 is doing the job just fine for you guys at the moment. If you are a little more advanced and you want the slightly higher performance, you can enable it. Static route, there's no need. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't bother. Static route is very old school. If you're going to do stuff properly, no, okay, I apologize. I take that back. Static route is not old school. If you are advanced and you understand what static route is, enough said. My bad. I'm not going to explain it. DHCP clients, I just explained that. That's the switch thing, throwing out IPs. And now anyone that gets an IP from the DHCP server within your router appears here. So you can see we've got one. I'm going to connect my phone. Cool, so you get the idea. And you see 144. DHCP reservation. This is when you have stuff like a service, you do some gaming on your computer, you need ports to be forwarded to your computer when your portable computer is within your wireless network, within your local wireless area network. But you don't want to have to manually change your settings every single time, because you might take your laptop out of your home and connect to someone else's wireless network, and you want it to be able to just pick up an IP automatically. Essentially what you want is this dude to say, give me whatever you got, and the network to go, here you go. This is whatever I've got. But with DHCP reservation, when you're in a specific network that's configured, you can say the MAC address, the physical hardware thing that identifies this puppy here, whenever it is seen on my local area network, I want to give it specifically this IP. And then you can have ports forwarded specifically to that IP. For example, if you are downloading torrents, you want to open up Tor ports. If you are a gamer on a laptop and you want to have certain ports like Fortnite or something open up on the laptop so you're getting an absolute minimum latency and no packet drops. That's what this is. If you have servers or printers that are not mainstream production servers, like small things like Synology NASA's, you can have them set to say, give me whatever IP you've got on a specific port, and then you can have this configured to say, well, every time I recognize this MAC, I'm going to give specifically this IP. So even if you do some wipe and resets or whatever, it'll always get the same IP address, making your life easy. So I'll do that with the printer, but later. This here, also very cool. If you've got an IPTV box, Roku or whatever, you can set up your service here, connecting it to port 4. And then that is kind of like prioritizing traffic on a specific port. I do have a box like that, but I don't need to set it up. This here is quality of service. Quality of service is an area where you go to set speed limits and packet prioritization. So if you have a person who is not doing important things is not really the word I'm trying to look for, like looking at web pages and not gaming or doing internet intensive tasks, you can say this person has a lower bandwidth and has a lower priority on packets. However, because I'm doing the more intensive tasks, I want this device that I'm using to have higher priority and higher bandwidth. You can control all of the devices and their bandwidth usage. Here. Advanced. You need traffic control enabled. Monitor shows you exactly what devices are doing what. We should get a list here. So you can see my first server, my phone, which I just connected a second ago. My second server should also pop up. There we are. And you can get an idea of what's going on. And then you can export reports if you need to do that. Security. You should check that box. Okay. I'm going to try and leave it on the defaults for the moment. I don't want to change too much. You definitely should check this box. Denial of service DDoS attacks. If too many packets are hitting you quickly, you want your router to automatically act. Check that box. Firewall. And this is where I need to put in my ICMP rule. All allow. Okay, cool. So basically here is where you set what you want or do not want. Very, very nice, super easy to use. Don't like Russia, don't want to be hacked by the Russians. Region, select Russia. Job done. Deny everything Russia. Let's actually just give it a name. For example, everything from Russia, anything within that area, block it. Sure, they could use a VPN, but still, no. You can do some really nice firewall rules that way. You have some nice options like specific IPs, specific regions, specific ports, tip top, the usual stuff you would expect on slightly more advanced firewalls. So, epic. Services, yes I do. So everything is disabled, as it should be. Auto block, absolutely. Login attempts 5 in 3 minutes for 1 day, with the exception of this machine. So allow or block. Okay, DHCP reservation. Here's an example. Apply. Okay. Network. Yep. Reservations. Add. What is, here we are, this, added to the reservations, into the reservations here. Okay, so what I've done here now is I've said my computer is always to get IP address .100. In security, auto block, exception, allowed list, create 192.168.1.100. So if I'm an idiot and I forget my login and I hit that block threshold that I've just put in of 5 attempts within 3 minutes, I will not be able to log in anywhere at all except this computer. Or I will not be able to attempt to try and log in again anywhere except for this computer. But that's okay because we want to make another user account. Did I do that already? Yes, I did. Done. I'm already logged in. So if I forget my password, I can always log in with the admin, but see, you start to see how it makes sense. Operation modes, I want to apply everything. The settings were changed. Am I missing a save button somewhere? No, my settings are saved. Good. Okay, it's just being a bit weird. Here you can choose your operation mode should you have something different. That's not the case. I have internet to modem to router. So that's me. I'm not using it as an AP only. If that would be the case, you would have modem to a router connecting to this device as an access point. So this would be if you have like one of those MR devices. Or a repeater. Modem, like internet to modem to router to this device, which is just extending the network. But for us, we're just using wireless router. So cool, close that down. Safe access. Okay. This is a hit or a miss, but I just want to Let's just see if that works. I might need to add in some specific domains. So what did I do there? I created a rule called no ads. Here, I created a profile to say affect my local area network, i.e. anything connected to this network needs to abide by this rule. and I blocked ads. So that essentially means that if I go on my phone, my Xbox, my iPad, my computer, no matter what's on my network, I am not going to get any advertisements, with the exception of YouTube, which, as much as it pains my heart, embeds ads into videos. This is not something that I have yet figured out. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to get it. I need to research it more, but that's the only thing that you can't block is YouTube ads at the moment, until I figure out a way to do that. But at least this here is pretty much blocking now 90% of ads, so kudos to that. Security. IPS. I don't know, I can't remember if I spoke to you about this already, but this is the reason why I bought the device. 1Gbps IPS system. So it's one of the best devices, let alone probably the best home device to allow you to have this intrusion prevention on your network. Let me just check my mail there for a sec. Okay, we're back. So yeah, essentially border patrol. I am going to enable that. You need to have or an SD card and USB. I'd recommend USB. The bigger the better. Jack it in, go to your package center. Yes, I have read the conditions. And here, this is what you want to download. Really good extra layer of protection. Requires a database. That's what the USB key is for. So go ahead, do that, knock yourself out. It's cool. It's kick-ass. Requires a little bit of reading, but it is as easy as everything else that you have witnessed here today to set up. And on that note, like I said, you buy this device once and you get everything for it for free. The updates, the packages, so everything that you see here in all, absolutely free, always updated by Synology. You can add in repositories and download the apps and install them manually, because there are developers out there who develop their own apps for DSM and SRM, the firmware that runs these devices. And then when Synology do any beta packages themselves, this is where they pop up. So properly awesome. Let us go ahead and close that down and continue on. Exceptions list. Yeah, so for example, if you have children, you like to look at porn, you don't want them to look at porn, you can go block all porn. If you go to profile, edit, filter, add, adults, yeah, so there. When you do that and you block porn that way, then nobody gets to watch porn unless you create an exception. You could also do it in the firewall. Actually, you can even do it there. There's so many different ways that you can do this. You can even do it directly from the profile. But anyway, you get the idea. Here, you can, when you enable these two guys, when you enable this one, you can create specific exceptions for what services you want to allow to ignore IPS, so that you're not getting any packet losses. Very good for gaming, by the way. Google Safe Search Browsing. So Google Safe Search is a pain in the ass because when you really want to control it, it's very difficult to control. Finding devices that allow you to control Safe Search is even more rare. Usually you have to have enterprise grade stuff to do that. It's not normal that you see a device programmed to be able to trigger the Safe Search by default for Google services. This is nice. When you do this, safe browsing instantly gets switched on, just like that. If you've got a Google account and you've got custom settings, you set your custom settings, download the API, stick it in here, it'll say status connected, and then you will have your custom settings applied, such as YouTube, moderate, safe search, strict, blah, blah, blah. You get it. Read up on it. It's nice. Activity. What's been going on, who's been doing what, and if anyone's been hitting brick walls, they can put requests through, and then here you can open up the requests and go yay or nay. So if you have like no porn and your kid goes to a porn site and goes, Dad, please let me watch this, and you're kind of like, okay, you can do it that way. Notifications. Yeah, so here, if you want to know what's going on, you can add these ones here. You can do it via email, SMS, mobile or desktop. SMS, pretty cool, a little bit expensive. You can use ClickServe for it. I'd recommend just going with email. It's a free service. You don't have to pay to receive emails. Happy days, easy. So check what you need and then click on apply. Now, of course, this is not going to work unless you've got the notification service up, which in that case, you're brought directly to. You can set up your own mail server, or you can use a predefined mail server. I have a Gmail account, as you have seen, so I'm going to use Gmail. My emails, I want them to be identified as SRM, provider, sign in. Nope. Yep. Get my 2FA. Yes, authorize, job done, allow, yep, done. Let's test it. There you go. Works like a charm. Piece of cake. So in a nutshell now, what that means is anything from here that gets like hit by the filter for security reasons, whatever, I'm going to get a notification. I'm going to be made aware of what's going on. Next, control panel. We created our user account, so we want to do one more. So now more and more people can use the mobile app. The only thing I don't see them showing you is the QR code, which is a bit silly. Because essentially, when you go to this icon here, into Wi-Fi, you have up in this corner, which of course I should be able to set up now. DS router. Good. Wi-Fi. I don't know if you can actually see this, but that little QR code, you click on it, it gives you a QR code, and you're like, scan that, click, they connect to the network. And the nice thing about it also is you can choose between guest or your own Wi-Fi and which one. So if you want somebody to be on your internal network, you just like your guest network, and you get a nice overview of how things work. So this is not the greatest description that you see on the screen of how well this app works, probably because it's old and the updates really do add awesome functionality. But there you go, that's how that works. Storage, if you do stick in an SD card or a USB key, you can manage your storage partition, whatever, from here. File services, you can set up like a DLNA media server and stream stuff from a external hard drive or USB key connected via USB through the router to whatever other devices. I do not recommend that you do that. Don't do that. If you're going to do DLNA and you're going to set up a media server, do it properly. Buy a Synology NAS. And this essentially is what these guys are awesome for. I mean, they started making their servers. They are actually servers. They're called network attached storages. They're not network attached storages. Look at this. That's a server. You can do so much stuff with these little boxes. It's ridiculous. The thing is, it doesn't matter whether you get yourself a 1 or a 2 or a 3U badass mofo that sits on a rack, or a little tiny box that sits in the corner, or 2 big ones like I've got here. The OS DSM, it's the same across the board, more or less. So let's have a quick peek. What are we looking at? We want NASes. Yeah, I want to see them all. View them all. So here you go, you've got some big daddies, which you're not interested in. You've got my ones. But you don't need to go that crazy. You can get yourself something nice and small. Like, what is that slim one? DS419. DS419 Slim. No, but it's not really the one that I'm looking for. 620. There we go. So I know this is going to be hard to visualize, okay? This thing here takes 2.5-inch discs. Discs that are this size, okay? 2, 4, 6. So it's about that wide, it's about that long, and it's about that high. This thing is tiny. Like, I don't even think I have anything. Like, it's smaller than this, okay? SSDs. Super fast solid state SATA connected SSDs in RAID mode with Synology's hybrid RAID. So a disk fails, you just plug in another disk. You can set it up with multiple versions of RAID so that you can have like a 0 as well as something else, so you're getting the multiple performance on SSDs. Super fast. Rendering, codecs. Oh, don't get me started. So yeah, you're talking terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of data on this little tiny box that is ridiculously fast, hidden away in a corner, and then every TV, mobile phone, iPad, whatever, can receive streamed content in whatever resolution, 10, 1044, 4K, 8K. If you do it with a cable, even better. I believe these things even support, support Wi-Fi. I think you can even stick in like a wireless dongle in the back if they don't have it already built in. Spec compatibility. So yeah, anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Very, very cool. If you're going to do streaming, stream that way. Don't do it this way. Services. I want to keep everything off. NTP, I might switch that on. That's basically the time. And the Swiss like to, you know, Swiss watches, Swiss clocks, yeah? NTP, the Swiss clock is like really accurate. So I might stick in the Swiss NTP servers later. Yeah. You can turn the lights off if you don't like the lights. You can even have them on a schedule. Printer, I'm going to add my network printer later. I need to do a little bit of work on the printer before I start. You can have this device. You know the way sometimes things get glitchy and stuck and you call the IT guy and the IT guy is kind of like, have you turned it off and on again? Well, you can actually set this up here so that it turns off and on itself. I've been using this for 4, maybe 5 years. I don't know, a long time. And I've only really restarted it once or twice, with the exception of me actually wanting to restart it for other reasons, but like because I felt maybe something might not be right and it needs a restart. Not a lot. So I don't think you need to, but hey, the option's there if you need it. System, if you need to wipe, reset, back up your configuration, which you should do. Good. That's probably not going to work at the moment. Silly me. Config. Cool. Alright. That's out of the way. So, package center we've covered. Network tools. Traceroute. Let's get our and let's turn that guy off. How cool is that? From Switzerland to Germany, all the way over to the United States, to the US of A. How many hops? 8 hops. How many seconds? 17 milliseconds. Just think about that for a second. 17 milliseconds to trace, do a DNS resolution from here to there. I know it's cool. A lot of people take this stuff for granted, but that's some pretty impressive networking right there. Wake on LAN, if you need to wake up stuff that's on your network that may be sleeping, you can stick in your device there and have a button that you hit. So when you hit it, it goes, oh, what? Sorry, yeah, I'm here. So cool. And these are nice, simple network tools like ping. Let's get an IP. Astra. What is Astra? Cool. So we go here, move over there, and stick in 92.204.54.56. Simple thing. Okay, did I type it in wrong? 92204, 92204, 54. yeah, so basic tools to help you figure out some basic stuff. But honestly, if you're going down the route of troubleshooting and you need to really look into what's happening, get Nmap, get Ping Plotter. Not a sponsored video, by the way, just an awesome tool. And yeah, with those two tools and some creative knowledge of the command, this guy, for example, like trace route, or you could do netstar. There's this, just Google it. There's a lot of really funky stuff that you can do, a lot of powerful stuff you can do with those tools, and that's really all you need. But yeah, this is nice. It shows you what's going on. So cool. Security advisor. Now I'm going to get hit with a ton of stuff because I've left a lot of stuff unconfigured, let's say. Or not. Maybe it is actually. Yeah. Okay, so this is what I mean by ease of use. Oh my goodness, there's a package out of date. What am I going to do? What package could possibly be out of date? So let's close that down. And when you click on it, it should bring you some of your packages are out of date. Which one? Safe access is out of date. Where do I update it? From the package center, and everything with links. I click on this, safe access, update. Okay, let's update it then. Boom, 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 boom. Done. In all fairness, uninstalling and reinstalling an app can take a little bit of time, so maybe I'm being a little bit too enthusiastic about the speed, but as you can see, it's already done now. We have a little dot up here to indicate something new has happened. What? Safe access, and everything's up to date. So now we do our scan again. Actually, no, let's do the whole thing. The whole thing. Scan again. And now we should be looking at tip top 100% A-OK. Okay, I'm happy with that. And the cool thing is you can even go further with like the IDS. And you can have it scan regularly. Cool. Absolutely. So I think now we are at the end of the line. Have we missed anything else? Log Center. You go in here to look at logs. Any major updates will pop up here, but here you can see, like there, remember when we created the user list, you can see what's going on. ICMP, no, not ICMP, SNMP, you can forward your packets to a log server, to a syslog server if you want to, and this is where you enter in that info. If you want to receive logs from someone else, so if someone has SNMP set up on another server and you want to actually port it into this here and use this as your syslog server, can do, this is how you do it. Of course, logs take space, so that's why you have a few space options on this device. Therefore it says, give me a place to store all of this. So you got to put something in there. Notifications, let me know if the logs are blah, 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 blah. And I think you can even set it so that it auto deletes logs after a certain time frame. Yeah. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes our setup for today. I shall now go and do my ping and network testing with my more or less stock settings setup of my Synology router. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you have found this useful and helpful. If you've got any questions, let me know. But on that bombshell, anything you're looking for, type it in there. If you need any more help, you've got a really, really nice area here that pretty much covers absolutely everything specifically to this device. And if you really need to go the extra mile, you can always tap on support, where you will get basically any possible support that you could possibly need on Synology products, documentation step by step with instructions from here. And if all of that still doesn't help you, you can actually contact them and ask them for help. And their technical support is awesome. Thank you. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Down out.